I am so excited to welcome back my next guest. She represents everything that makes New York great. She's a mom, she's a grandmother, and she is soon to be a congresswoman. Tina Forte, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Jason. How are you?
I'm very well. It's great to
Loved
see you,
your
Tina.
open. Thank you.
Thank you. And we just saw you on Sunday, which is always great. You gave a wonderful speech at that rally for the patriots who are being held in solitary confinement while
Yeah.
looters and rioters destroyed businesses throughout New York City. We're still reeling from it.
Yeah.
Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, she's doubling down on defunding the police. But of course, you are a law and order candidate. Tell us what's going on, Tina.
Well, basically, I came out to join the race for Congress against Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, AOC, because enough was enough. It's time. This is of the people, for the people, and it's time we take our streets back. It's time we take New York back, and it's time we take our country back as a whole also. But I'm focused on New York, the district, and how she is not there as a representative. She's not representing her district at all. She's for defunding the police. I'm for defending the police. She's for the Green New Steel. I'm for the pipelines. We have a lot of differences, and they're major differences. And it needs to be called out. No one will call it out. I will call it all out. I will call out the riots. I will call out the looting. I will call out the streets and the defunding of the police. I will call out. I'm not afraid.
Absolutely. And people see that. You are a bold woman, as I said, a mother, a grandmother. You're very concerned about a lot of the issues that we've been talking about with so many other guests around New York. We've had Michael Caine from the New York Teachers for Choice, who are focused not on telling people what to do with vaccines, but just making sure that we can preserve our rights to choose.
That's right. That is it. If you want to wear a mask, that's your choice. If you want to get a vaccine, that's your choice. If your mask and your vaccine protects you, leave us alone. We are Americans. It's our rights. They are stomping all over our freedoms, and it's just not right. And it's time to take our country back.
Yeah. And I mean, your campaign video shows a lot of this imagery, which to me, it feels like this was just a week ago, even though we haven't had this kind of brazen, breaking and entering and looting and rioting. There is a real criminal element that is gaining confidence and becoming emboldened every day. There was somebody shot in broad daylight in Times Square.
In broad daylight. That's the difference, is that now not only is the crime skyrocketing, but the crime itself, the way they're doing it, like you said, they're emboldened. They're doing it in broad daylight. You've never seen anything like this since the 80s. I think the last time New York was really bad was back in the 80s and the 70s. This is unheard of. Not in broad daylight. This is not what our country is about. It's not what New York is about. We're for backing the blue. And you don't see that. And not only are these cops being defunded, and anti-crime was removed off the streets totally. The Blasio decides to put a few of them at Times Square today. A little too late, don't you think, after someone was shot in broad daylight? But now they're coming at us in a completely different way. It's like you can't even walk the streets. We can't do anything. So they're bothering us about masks. They're bothering us about vaccines. We have to be uncomfortable walking in our own streets, in our own district, with everything that's going on. It's just not right.
No, it's not. And, Bruce Springsteen opened up Broadway. Of course, people had to show proof of vaccination. I don't know if they followed through with this, but when they initially announced it, they were saying that people who had the AstraZeneca vaccine weren't going to be allowed in. So what is Bruce Springsteen sponsored by Pfizer?
Yeah, I guess so. I've never heard of anything like that. Really, this is beyond anything I've ever imagined, seeing where this country is, where my country, my beloved country, my America, seeing where it's going and how far left AOC and her squad has dragged the Democrat Party. It's a shame. It really is. It's a shame, and it's a disgrace.
Yeah. Now, you brought up the point, rightly so, that she really doesn't care about the people here in New York or anybody in her
Yeah.
district, she's basically an Instagram model in Congress who's getting
She's
sponsored
an
by various
actress.
fashion brands. Right.
Yes, and she's an actress. She goes to the border as an actress. Put your white suit on and walk your district. Let's talk about crime. Let's talk about what's going on in your district. Her suit will get dirty if she puts it on in the district because it's so filthy, the streets. Okay, she wouldn't be able to walk down the block without security guards. Mind you, she gets private security, and I'm very big and bold on this, and I'll say it, and I'm running for Congress. If you want to defund the police, then you shouldn't get a paycheck to pay for your private security. Defund Congress if you're going to defund the police.
Yeah, I think we also need to defund the FBI because we've got a January 6th commission coming together that seems like it might be as biased and as inaccurate as the 9/11 Commission, the Warren Commission. I think people are rightly very concerned about that. Now, at the risk of being accused of being racist, I believe you and I are both white.
Yes, we are.
But we are frequently attending rallies where there are New Yorkers of all different colors, black,
All different
white,
colors,
Asian, Hispanic. There are people who want peace,
change, and they want
law,
change
and order
Yeah,
in
they
their
want it to go
neighborhoods.
back.
They want
They
their
want
kids to go to
normal.
school.
Yeah, they want to be normal. That's not a lot to ask for. But from the left, the far left, it is a lot to ask for. They want to control us. They want. Do you want AOC, Governor Cuomo, Bill de Blasio, do you really want them making decisions about your life? Cuomo made a decision about my life. He almost killed me. I was almost one of those statistics. I don't want those people making decisions in my life. Do you want them making decisions about your children, about your grandchildren, about your future?
I think we should
That's
go
what
over
people have
that
to think
again,
about.
Tina.
Yeah.
Because people who might have missed your first interview, you're talking about your own experience with COVID-19 and hydroxychloroquine. Let's share that with everybody again, particularly now in the light of information that's come forward where they're acknowledging that gain of function and a lab leak could be possible. Tell everybody what happened to you.
I was back in March 2020. It was my 50th birthday. I went out with my friends, and about a week later, I wasn't feeling well. And I just let it ride a little bit because I have asthma. And then I just went to walk-in emergency. I went to urgent medical, and a doctor there says, Tina, I'm going to give you a COVID test. I don't like the way you sound. I says, okay. She gave me the COVID test, and she expedited it. It came back the next day that I was positive for COVID. She was worried about my asthma, so she sent me in the hydroxychloroquine and the Z-Pak. The pharmacy calls me up and tells me, Tina, I cannot give you the medication that your doctor prescribed. I says, why? They says, him.
Yeah, exactly.
Cuomo right there signed an executive order banning your prescription. I says, but my doctor wrote it for me. It's something that's been around for 75 years. I can't take it. Nope, there's an executive order. So the pharmacy, what am I going to do? Strong on the pharmacy? So I says, okay.
Right.
I ended up in the hospital a couple of days after that with double pneumonia, blood clotting, and I almost died. And Governor Cuomo made that decision. He had no right. Not only did we have the right to try, but we also have, it's a medication that my doctor prescribed to me. Who was he to take that decision away from me? Who was he to send the elderly to nursing homes? Who was he to have so much control over our lives? And look what these decisions, look where they got us. I almost died. We have a very large population of the elderly that has died because of Cuomo. And I will not be afraid to call it out. I've been calling him out for over a year. And I will call him out as a congresswoman. And I will call everyone out as a congresswoman. I'm not afraid. But yeah, he almost killed me.
And not only that, there's been a lot of talk about what happened with the elder care homes here in New York and Cuomo putting all these COVID patients in there. But it sounds like just talk, Tina. Nothing really has happened in several months.
Nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. And not only that, he brags about it. He goes and writes a book and asks for $5 million? Is that the number? He asks for $5 million for his book of lies. I want to know, Dr. Fauci, do you still think Cuomo got it right? I went to Fauci's when he showed up in Harlem. I went on with my megaphone. I went calling him out. When he pulled up, I was there yelling, Fauci, you still think Cuomo got it right? I was screaming off the top of my lungs at him too.
Unbelievable.
Unmask our children. Unmask our children. Like these
and that's
kids.
some of that evidence has been coming forward now, Tina, that there's been, according to the CDC, the numbers they publish. There's less than, I think, 300 school-age children under the age of 14 who have had a fatal outcome from contracting COVID-19. And
And
you
not
know,
only are they
now,
masked, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want you to know, because I have a granddaughter, not only are they masked, but a lot of the school districts, they're sitting behind partitions. So my granddaughter told me, Mommy, I have plastic around me. She actually has the plastic on one side, one not on the top, but around her like this. I go, they still make you keep your mask on? Yeah, that's all I had to hear. I started protesting in front of the schools, in front of the superintendents. I've been very vocal about that. And I did actually bring people out. I was doing it by myself, Jason. I was standing on the corner with my car on the side that says unmask our children, beat to unmask our children. I've literally with 2 American flags and my car with that. So I would drive up, because you would have to pull up to drop Adriana off. So I would drop her off, and they're all looking at my car. Then I would pull out and I would park. And as everybody else was bringing their kids to school, I was standing out there with big signs, and I would get the thumbs up, and people would start
nice.
beeping. And then after a few days, a few weeks, other parents were starting to come and stand next to me. And that was like a great feeling, because they were afraid from the beginning of the year. You know, I've been very vocal about a lot of things. So they knew who I was from September. I was never allowed on school property because I refused to wear a mask on school property, standing outside when I have antibodies. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that no one's having the conversation about herd immunity. No one's having, I still have my antibodies. I have a level of them now. So I'm good. I have actually a higher level than if you get the shot.
Right.
That my own doctor told me. So, you know, we could have a lot of discussions about this, but no one wants to have these discussions. And I found it really refreshing that parents would come to me and go, Tina, we didn't want to stand next to you because the stigma that you get in your name. And we didn't want to, like, you know, but it's for such a good cause. And we're making a difference, like the superintendent's sending letters home more, and they're getting to take their masks off outside. I was calling them out. They said that they were letting the kids go outside without their masks on. I was standing outside the school. They didn't know. They came outside at recess, 95 degrees, masked. I went right on the thing. Boop. Why do they have the masks on? I thought they don't have to get outside.
You know, Tina, some of my friends who aren't involved with Crowdsource the Truth, they're just, you know, their kids are, I don't know if they're going back to school or summer camp or what. This is not one of the pictures. This is just something I found on the internet. But a friend of mine the other day posted a picture of his young child heading off to camp or school or whatever, holding a little sign that said, like, you know, first day of second grade or whatever it said. And the child is wearing a mask. And I mean, it looked like a ransom note or something, like, we have your kid, and they're holding up a sign and the mask. It's like, this is traumatic. These children don't look happy to me.
No, you don't see their smiles on the first day of school. They don't get to see each other's, like you don't see that. They're like blocking the socialization that children are supposed to have at this age, their emotions, everything. It's a shame. It saddens me, it breaks my heart. And no one will call it out. And in New York City, it's even worse than in New York State, in some of the counties. And where's AOC? These kids are going to go back to school masked. Do the parents even know that they're going to find it in the fall, that if they let our kids back in the classroom, that AOC and Blasio made them defund school security and metal detectors and door monitors, but yet they're going to still wear a mask? Come on, everyone needs to, like, start calling them out.
Wow, how can she brush off concerns over crime as hysteria when people are being shot in Times Square in daylight? Charles was accosted by a homeless person in Washington Square Park this weekend. I'm accosted everywhere I go all over the city. As you said, she seems to be in Washington, D.C. all the time. I'm sure the U.S. Capitol Police protect her.
I can tell you that when she's not in Washington. Because she sent a memo. She said, I don't know, on a Zoom somewhere, wherever she is, in one of her apartments, one of her houses, I don't know. Wow. She's not in Washington because she sent a letter stating, I think it was June 12th or June 14th, that her votes from now on, she can't come into Congress, that it will be done by proxy because she's afraid of the health pandemic. But yet she was at a concert unmasked a couple of nights before. So that's hypocrisy, and no one calls it out. I'll call it out. I'm calling it out right now.
Wow. And, you know, Governor Cuomo was the first, and New York State was the first to test these vaccine passports. You know, they needed to be used for access to I think Dave Grohl or whatever was going on at the Madison Square Garden thing, and they're pushing to roll them out all over.
You know what I don't understand, Jason? When we did the restaurant thing together, I met you at Max when I was in Staten Island for the business owners protest. They can go into a restaurant and you can sit and eat dinner and remove your mask, but the children have to wear their masks 7 hours straight. Would you put a muzzle on your dog for 7 hours straight? I don't think so. Unmask our children.
Absolutely. And, you know, the other thing that came up at some of these rallies with the New York Teachers for Choice, we're talking about very small children, 5, 6 years old. Really, the main thing they're learning in school is socialization with other children their age, how to interact, how to play. Like you said, they can't see each other's faces.
They can't see each other's smiles.
You've been married, I've been married. What's wrong? Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
How do we know that there is something wrong if we can't read a person's face and learning to read and speak and all that? It really is taking away from the children's education.
It was a difficult school year. It was a very hard choice to be made because Adriana wants to go to school. You know, there are kids that want to go to school. Her girlfriends want to go to school. You know, the remote learning, you don't get much off of it. You really don't, unless you're really tentative and you're sitting there. It's very hard to teach a child. Even last year when they did the remote learning for half the year because they shut the schools down, it was like the kids lost a year and a half because that last year, that half the year that it was remote, they didn't learn much. And now they went back to school masked. They started off the school year half remote, half in person. The half in person is masked. And like I said, they're sitting behind Classic. They took all that away from them. I remember when I was in kindergarten and first grade, I remember brownies and Girl Scouts, having fun with my friends and playing kickball and dodgeball. I'm talking about old school sports. But you don't hear of that anymore. It's a shame. It's devastating.
Yeah, so you've got a lot of perspective as a mother and a grandmother. And so I don't want to get too personal, but I mean, what have you seen? Like, so your daughter obviously went to school well before this pandemic, and now her daughter. What do you see there as far as important differences that you are concerned about, maybe specifically?
The socialization big and how they're learning. Like my daughter, and I don't like to compare children, you know, because everyone learns differently. Everyone learns a little so, but they're not learning. They're not at their full potential. They're not. I see it. I see the work that they're coming home with. They're not pushing these kids to their full potential because of the masks. How you learn, like you said, that was a great point. How are you learning to read? Kids learn to read and you form with your mouth. And it's not there. The connections are not being made. And I see it firsthand because I do the homework with my granddaughter. I read the books with her.
Is this assumption, because I don't know. I don't have any children in school. I don't really know firsthand, but it seems like the schools and the teachers are very preoccupied with just the logistics of getting the school running, and that seems to take away a lot from the education.
That's it. You're exactly right, because that's what happened in the beginning of the school year and how I got banned off of school property. They're more worried about that than focusing on what's in the best interest of our children. Normalcy. We want to be normal.
Absolutely.
And then really, honestly, if my granddaughter came home with a note saying that we're going to Manhattan, I'd keep her home. I wouldn't want her walking the streets right now. I wouldn't want her getting off a school bus, going to a museum in Manhattan. I wouldn't feel comfortable with it. I want the anti-crime back on the streets. I want the plainclothes cops back on the streets.
Yeah.
I want the cops to have their power back. It's a shame.
And people know you're the real Tina Forte on Twitter. You've been absolutely burning up Twitter for a long time, raising people's awareness, but you've created a new Twitter account for the campaign. I hope the Crowdsource the Truth viewers will follow you there at Tina, the number 4 Congress. And they can also get to your campaign website, Real Tina FOR Congress, and you've got a great campaign video there, really highlighting the important points that everybody is concerned about. Really, we need to get back to business in New York City. It's not just a matter of lives versus commerce, because people's lives depend on commerce. They need jobs.
They need jobs, and AOC took a ton of jobs away with her Amazon. When she was yelling and screaming, no Amazon, that took a lot of jobs away.
It's funny because I seem to see her wearing a lot of, here's makeup, and I see her with a
Hmm.
different Apple Watch every time she's on. Maybe she's
Yeah,
ordering that stuff from Amazon.
they're probably. I would put it. That's a good point.
And Joe is asleep at the wheel. I mean, Tina, we need you and other concerned parents in Congress. The thing that I love so much about this run is that, first of all, you have got energy that you just embody New York. You are a tough
Thank
New
you.
York lady who takes no crap from anybody. And you are just a regular person. You're not a
Right.
career
I'm not a
politician,
politician. Not.
but you've had enough.
No, I've had enough. Enough is enough. I've had enough. My dad's a
Right.
Marine. My mom, owns small businesses in the Bronx. I'm a regular person and I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change who I am. That's definitely not going to happen. I won't change, but I will go to Congress and I will call it out and I will be loud. I mean, I know I can't use, my language and stuff that I use. It is what it is, but I'm still the same person. I'm not, Congress will not change who I am. It will not change my heart, my passion that I have for my country and for New York. That will never go away.
And you know what? I want to address that language because I think it was a bit of an issue with Donald Trump as well. People who aren't from New York
New York
don't
don't get it.
necessarily get this style. I mean, me, you watch The Sopranos or something like that, but
Yeah.
honestly, it's almost a sign of more integrity that you're just cutting loose and it's
Come on
colorful
in.
language. You're not insulting people, well,
Nope.
unless they insult you first.
Exactly. It's passion. To me, it's passion.
Yes.
That's how my passion. Sometimes I don't even realize I'm doing it. As I'm talking about something, it comes out. Now, like I'm on your show. I watch myself. I felt a few F-bombs coming out and I just, I had to pull back. So it's not that I forget what I'm going to say. I pull back sometimes because it's, it's my passion. It's how I come across.
Yeah.
I have a
And
lot of heart.
I know that, and that's one of the things that I love about you. Another one of the biggest issues that you will face when you get to Congress is going to be this January 6th thing. The
Right.
Democrats are really dying to convince everyone. I mean, we've heard about this, don't pee on me and tell me it's raining, but I mean, we've never seen a worse case of this
Right.
where they're just trying to say that there's no evidence. I just saw on Saturday Jim Acosta accosting someone who might be an ally of yours once you reach Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, yeah, she's
He asks
awesome.
her out on the street in the middle of Washington, D.C., where is all this evidence that agitators caused January 6th? I don't think she's walking around with that necessarily like in her shorts or
Right.
something.
Right.
But there's tons of evidence of agitation. I saw Antifa infiltrators on the ground January 6th. I have tons of video evidence. I've seen tons of video evidence. I've now got video evidence of Antifa agitators in the Pride Parade. This is their MO. They're constantly
Listen.
infiltrating. We now see the FBI had foreknowledge. How would you handle this if you were in Congress?
I would call it all out. I would call it all out. You want to make a commission? Well, let's make that commission and let's call it out on both sides. Because you know what's happening now? The scale is like this. That's not how it is. Justice is blind. It's got to level itself out again. And the left doesn't level it out. They don't like a level playing field. I would bring it in. I would bring that level playing field and I would do whatever I have to do, use my voice any which way possible to make sure that the scales are equal on both sides, the scales of justice. And I would bring everything to light.
And that's important because I know that you will. And people, even if they aren't in New York's 14th district, I think really need to support Tina's run for Congress. You can do that by going to realtina.congress.com. Even if you're not in New York, you can click on the donate button and you can support Tina's campaign. Campaigns are expensive and Tina needs to travel around New York and do different media events and get the word out. So I hope that Crowdsource the Truth viewers will sponsor Tina. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about real briefly, the last time we had an interview on the show, you were telling us about the work you were doing with attorney Carl Schwartz for this Article 78
Article
action
78.
against Cuomo. What's happening with that?
Okay. The Article 78, we when I spoke to you, it was filed, and they found cause for it to move forward, which was great. And Cuomo's attorneys tried to get them to consolidate it. We won that. So it wasn't consolidated. So you had to answer each one individually. It's still in the courts right now, but with everything opening up, we morphed it now. It's kind of morphed into more for the kids. It morphed into like a New York stand up masks and the vaccines for the children right now. So it's kind of just taken a little turn, but it's still there.
Right.
It's still there,
And
which
these
is
things take,
to me that's big. That's big that we were able to stand up county to county, and with people's name, my name was on it. Tina Forte, Verse, Andrew Cuomo, Howard Zucker, like it was there, and other people came out, and I was speaking with other people from other counties saying, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. We need to speak
yeah.
up. We need to put our names on this. We need to put a name to this. We can't just talk about it. We need to do it. We can't talk the talk if we don't walk the walk. I do both. And I was able to put a name to it in a bunch of counties with Carl Schwartz. He's amazing. He is an amazing man. God bless him for what he is doing, really, to help our children in New York. Because
Absolutely.
he went all out for this. He really did. You did an interview with him. He went all out for this. And it morphed now for the kids. And I'm going to be very, very vocal for our children.
I appreciate you doing that. And Carl Schwartz is an absolute champion. You're very brave for doing this. And I mean, again, there's people out there who are going to think one thing or another, even if they disagree with you, Tina.
Right.
You absolutely represent every American who's out there, whatever state they're in. There's tons of people who hate New York. They think what they think about you and I. We talk a certain way, whatever. The point is, you represent an American citizen who's in her home, conducting her life. Everything has been so disrupted that you need to, not to destroy everything and take to the streets in that way, but to fix the system from within it. I really appreciate that approach.
Yeah, I want our values back, our American values back. Believe in the Constitution. It's just so simple. Just go back to the Constitution. Go back to our American values. Our, the national anthem, for instance, the Pledge of Allegiance. They want to rip out of the schools. I don't understand. Like, where is this coming from? If you don't like it here, leave.
Exactly.
Leave. Don't come here and ruin our country. Don't come into Congress or become a senator and go so far left that you destroy our American values that our men and women fought for. Don't come and do that. Not in this country. We're a free America. And that's what I want. That's what I'm fighting for.
Yeah. And the other thing that has been happening lately that's pretty upsetting to me, it seems like a minor thing, but they stack minor thing on minor thing on minor thing. We now have Olympians who are denouncing the flag and turning their back. What would you say about that as a congressperson?
As a congressperson, I think everybody should stand. Everybody. I would give fines out to people who didn't say it. Then you don't play that sport. If you don't like where you're playing, if you don't like America, then don't represent us. You don't belong representing our country. And I'm very strong on that, and people might not like the way I'm saying it, but that's how I feel. Then you don't belong representing our country.
I agree with you. It's one thing when a professional athlete who's paid a salary, a huge multi-million-dollar salary to play a child's game, if they want to come out and risk their career and challenge maybe a portion of their fans who they might disagree with, that's one thing. But I agree with you. In the case of the Olympics, I don't know who pays for the Olympics, but I kind of feel like it's got to be tax money and us. So if you've got a problem with the United States of America, I think the best way to participate, to protest the Olympics is not to participate. I think this woman and anybody else who's on the Olympic team or getting paid by taxpayers who doesn't like the United States should be fired and removed from their position immediately.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I know you're very busy, Tina, with a lot of campaign stuff. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover before we wrap up today?
No, this is great. And I would love to come back on again. And if anyone would like to donate to my campaign, please go to realtinaforcongress.com. And I promise you, I will work for you. I work for you. I will listen to everything, and I will bring New York and District 14 to the normalcy it belongs at.
Absolutely. And again, even for people who aren't in New York, we need people like Tina in Congress. We need bold people who are willing to step up and challenge these. I mean, let's face it, radical Marxists, communists, anarchists who are now filling up Congress, trying to destroy this great nation, the future of our children. Tina, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the show. I want people to visit realtinaforcongress.com and contribute to the campaign. I really hope that you win and that we'll be doing interviews at your office in Congress.
Yes.
It'll be absolutely great. And Tina, thank you for spending the afternoon with me here today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in as well. I'll see everybody soon. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.
Take care. Bye.